Prologue. The night before we had come too close. Too close to pretend it hadn't meant anything. We had stopped in time. But barely. Not because we were strong, but because one more second would have undone us. I stood in the dim room while the sea moved outside, steady and indifferent. My clothes were folded on the chair. My bag waited by the door, zipped, patient. Ready for escape. Koi slept facing the window, her back rising and falling slowly. Peacefully. As if nothing dangerous had happened between us. I watched her longer than I should have. Because if I touched her, even once, I wouldn't leave. And if I didn't leave, I would lose the life I had already agreed to live. So I took my bag. I opened the door without sound. And stepped into the cool morning air before my courage could fail. By the time the sun reached the water, I was already gone. At the time, I told myself this was discipline. Later, I would learn it was fear. My name is Simran Patel. And this story began 2 weeks earlier when I arrived in Diani believing distance would save me. Part 1. I arrived in Diani carrying more than my suitcase. Back home in Nairobi, everyone called this trip a break. A pause. Time to clear my head. No one said the real words out loud, but they hovered. Settling down. A suitable match. A future already arranged. I knew there was a man my mother liked very much. I also knew there was a ring he hadn't shown me yet. And that there was a question awaiting for my return. I told myself the coast would quiet the noise. I didn't know it would sharpen it instead. The seaside guesthouse I had booked in Diani was spare and pale. A bed placed carefully in the center of the room. I set my bag down and stood at the window, listening to the ocean. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls. 2 messages I didn't open. I went outside. Had a brief walk around the compound. As I was about to rinse sand off my feet, the water tap behind the guest house refused to cooperate. I twisted it once. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. You have to turn it twice, said a voice behind me. Calm. Certain. I turned. She was barefoot, holding a bucket against her hip. Sun-dark skin. Steady eyes. She stepped closer without hesitation, reached past my arm, and turned the tap herself. Water burst free. There, she said. It should have been nothing. A simple moment. Instead, my attention locked. She was taller than me by a few inches, built like someone who used her body for work rather than display. Her posture was easy, balanced. When she looked at me, it was direct. Not past me. Not around me. But at me. I'm Koi, she said, straightening. When she smiled, a dimple cut into one cheek. Quick, rakish, gone almost as soon as it appeared. I look after the place. She gestured loosely toward the buildings, the beach beyond. Places like this need someone to stay. To notice things before they become problems. The words landed heavier than they should have. Hi, I'm Simran, I said. She nodded once. Not curious. Not impressed. Like she was filing the name away for later. I also teach diving if you're interested, she added, already turning, as if the detail was practical rather than personal. She offered a quick tour. We walked toward the beach, the sand cool underfoot. Her stride was longer than mine, but she adjusted without comment. The morning light spread slowly across the water, and I found myself watching the way she moved through it, like it was familiar territory. She didn't ask why I was here. She didn't ask how long I was staying. I noticed the restraint. It felt deliberate. The ease of our interaction should have been my first warning. In the coming days, we kept finding each other. On the path between palms, where the air moved differently. In the kitchen, reaching for the same mug. Near the shoreline, bending to examine shells we didn't need. Our hands brushed more than once. Each time, we pretended not to notice. She laughed softly at my jokes. I watched her more than I should have. The tilt of her head when she listened. The way she paused before answering, like she chose her words carefully. You talk like someone passing through, she said one afternoon. I smiled too quickly. Is it that obvious? It is. Like you don't belong to yourself, she replied. That last comment stayed with me. I told her about my work. Promotions. Expansion. Plans that sounded impressive, but somehow felt hollow in my mouth. She told me about the guest houses. Repairs that never ended. Dealing with guests and contractors. Her life had weight. The certainty of choice. Mine felt like something I was borrowing. Koi took me out on the boat on my third morning. She didn't present it as a plan. Just said that one of her guests canceled. That the tide was right. And that she needed to check a buoy farther out anyway. You can come if you want, she said. Or stay back. I told myself I was going because it sounded interesting. The boat was small, with only one place to sit that kept us balanced. When the engine started, she reached across me to stow a loose line. Her forearm pressing briefly against my leg. She didn't acknowledge it. Neither did I. I noticed that I'm more aware of her movements than I needed to be. Out on the water, she's focused. She checks the anchor, adjusts a strap, asks me to hold things steady. I do exactly what she tells me. At one point the boat shifts, and she steadies me with a hand at my waist. It's practical. There's nothing else she could have done. She removes her hand slowly, like she's making sure the boat is stable. I don't move. When we dive, she stays close. Look at me, she says, calm. Not the water. Me. I follow her instructions. She stays close enough to correct me if I drift. Each time I veer, she applies pressure, once at my shoulder, once at my back, to guide me where I need to be. By the time we surface, I'm aware that I've been monitoring her position as much as my own. That realization bothers me more than the contact did. Back on the boat, she helps me out of my gear. She works methodically, loosening straps, lifting weight. Her hands move along my sides and across my back because that's where the equipment is. Hold still, she says. I do. Her hand rests between my shoulder blades longer than required. Long enough that I register the pause. Long enough that I wonder if she has noticed it too. She steps back without comment. I spend the rest of the ride back telling myself I'm reading too much into it. The next evening, I ask Koi if she'll eat with me. I don't make it sound like an invitation. I make it sound like a small payback. Something owed. For the dive, I say. And the boat. She considers it. Long enough that I register the pause. I was doing my job, she says. I know, I reply. I'd still like to cook. She studies me for a moment, like she's deciding whether this will complicate things. Then she nods. All right, she says. But keep it simple. The kitchen is part of the shared space. Narrow. Practical. I take out what I bought earlier that afternoon. You didn't have to, she says. I wanted to. We fall into a rhythm without planning one. I prep vegetables. She rinses rice, moves with familiarity through a space that isn't designed to linger in. We work side by side, occasionally crossing paths, adjusting without comment. At one point, I hesitate over the knife. I'm distracted, aware of her presence in a way that makes my movements less precise. She notices. Here, she says, stepping closer. You're overthinking it. She reaches for the knife, not me, and shows me how to angle it. Her hand brushes mine because there isn't another way to do it cleanly. Like this, she says. Her thumb presses briefly, guiding. She doesn't pull back immediately. Neither do I. When she steps away, returns to what she was doing. I stay where I am a moment longer, aware that I've lost my train of thought. We eat outside later. There's no music. No phones. Just the sound of the beach and cutlery. Once we have cleared the dishes, we return to the patio. She turns toward me, like someone who's decided to check something before she leaves. Her hand lifts and settles at my waist. Not gripping. Just there. A question, placed carefully. I don't move away. She steps closer. Enough that I can feel the heat of her body through the thin space between us. Her thumb shifts slightly, presses once, like she's confirming I'm still here. I am. Her gaze drops to my mouth. Then back to my eyes. You're not as contained as you think. And it's distracting. I swallow. Heat flooding my body. She leans in. Not all the way. Just close enough that I know exactly what she's offering. I nod. My body is already agreeing to something my mouth hasn't. She leans in. This time, she doesn't stop short. She kisses me. It's brief. Controlled. Her mouth presses to mine once, clearly, then stays long enough that there's no mistaking it for anything else. I kiss her back. For a second, it feels easy. Natural. Like something I've been bracing for without admitting it. Then the other thoughts arrive. Nairobi. The wedding ring. The future I've already half chosen. I pull away. Not dramatically, but decisively. Her hand drops from my waist. She doesn't reach for me again. She doesn't look surprised. She just looks at me, really looks, like she's just been given an answer she didn't want, but suspected all along. Part 2. After the kiss, nothing is the same. We don't avoid each other. We also don't touch. That's the change. We sit on the low wall near the guest house in the evenings, close enough to share warmth, far enough that it's deliberate. The sea moves steadily in front of us. Koi watches it like it's work. Like it requires attention. I try not to watch her mouth when she speaks. She doesn't reach for me again. I don't offer an explanation. Silence becomes the third thing between us. I didn't sleep, I say eventually. It slips out. Unplanned. She nods once, unsurprised. Me neither, she says. We sit with that. The admission opens something, but not enough. I keep thinking about what I'm supposed to go back to, I add. Careful. Vague. She turns her head slightly. Not fully toward me. Is it different from what you want? She asks. I don't answer. That, too, is an answer. Her jaw tightens. She looks back at the water. The distance between us doesn't change, it hardens. The next morning, I look for her where I usually find her. She isn't there. I find her behind the storage shed, sorting gear with quick, efficient movements. She doesn't look up when I approach. Hey, I say. She keeps working. You're leaving soon, she says, flatly. It's not a question. It's an assessment. I haven't said that. You don't have to. She finally turns to face me. You pack like someone who doesn't plan to unpack again. I hadn't realized she'd noticed. I like being here, I say. It's true. It's also incomplete. Her expression softens, just slightly, then firms again. Liking something isn't the same as choosing it, she says. I step closer. Too close. I can feel the heat between us again. Her body doesn't move to meet mine. I'm not asking you to decide everything, I say. Just say what you're not saying, she interrupts. I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. That's when she steps back. Not dramatically. Just enough. Don't do that, she says quietly. Don't pull me in and then disappear behind yourself. I want to reach for her. I don't. She picks up the last piece of gear and walks away. This time, she doesn't look back. That night, the air is heavy with heat and everything we haven't said. We're on the veranda again. The sea is loud, steady, close enough to feel like cover. The lights are low. The space between us is not. Koi leans against the railing, arms crossed, not closed off, just contained. Watching me. You could stay longer, she says. Not casually. Not as a suggestion. I could make it work, she adds. If that's what you want. I turn fully toward her. And if I stay? I ask. She uncrosses her arms. Steps closer. Close enough that the distance disappears without either of us naming it. Then I stop pretending, she says. I stop keeping you at arm's length. Her hand comes up, not hesitant now, and settles at my waist. Firm. Certain. Like she's checking whether I'll move away. I don't. Her thumb shifts, presses once. Slow. Deliberate. And I don't help you forget yourself, she continues. I don't make this easier than it is. Her other hand slides up my back. Not roaming. Anchoring. Pulling me just enough that I can feel the heat of her body through my clothes. My breath stutters. She feels it. Her mouth brushes my cheek. Not a kiss. A test. If you stay, she says quietly, her lips close enough that the words land against my skin, you stay honestly. That's when everything tilts. Her mouth finds mine. Not careful this time. The kiss is deep, sure, unmistakable. Her hands hold me like she already knows how. Like she's been waiting to stop holding back. I kiss her back. For a moment, there is nothing else. No thinking. No measuring. Just the rightness of it. The way my body responds without asking permission. Her breath changes. Mine does too. She presses closer. My hands slide to her hips. She makes a small sound, surprised, approving. And it pulls something loose in me. This is the moment. The one I won't be able to undo. And then Nairobi crashes in. The ring. The wedding plans. The life I've already half chosen. My hands still. My body is ahead of my courage, and I hate myself for it. I pull back. Not abruptly, but enough. Her hands fall from my back. She doesn't chase the space. She looks at me, not angry, not confused, just suddenly clear. I can't, I say. The words feel weak after what we almost did. She nods once. Controlled. Already retreating. Then please don't ask me to stand here like this, she says. She steps away. The space she leaves is immediate. Physical. Cold. She turns inside without looking back. And I stand there alone, knowing exactly why. If she had looked at me like that again, I would have stayed. I don't sleep. By morning, my chest feels tight with everything I've refused to say. If I stay another day, I will tell her the truth. If I tell her the truth, I will have to choose. I pack before I can change my mind. The guest house is quiet. The sea is already awake. Koi is asleep when I pause in the doorway of her room. Her back is to me. One arm tucked beneath the pillow. I don't wake her. Because if she turns toward me, if she looks at me the way she did last evening, I will stay. And staying would require courage I don't have yet. I close the door softly. I tell myself I'm being careful. I tell myself I'm doing the responsible thing. But as I walk away, I know the truth. I'm not choosing safety. I'm choosing avoidance. And something real breaks behind me. Quietly. Because I refuse to hear it. Part 3. For years later, Diani looks the same. The palms still lean toward the sea. The light still stretches long in the afternoon. The guest house still stands quiet and patient, like it never expected anything to return. I did. I arrive with no buffer this time. No story about rest. Just a question I've been carrying long enough that it has started to feel like part of my body. I hear my name before I see her. Simran. The sound stops me. I turn. Koi stands a few steps away, barefoot on the sand, a clipboard tucked under her arm. She's older, sharper around the edges. Not hardened. Settled. Like someone who learned how to stay without asking permission. For a moment, neither of us moves. Then she nods. Polite. Contained. What are you doing here? She asks. The question is neutral. The history isn't. I'm staying nearby. I say. Just a few days. Finalizing some property purchase. She doesn't for more details. All right, she says. Welcome back. And just like that, she turns and walks away. We walk together because stopping would mean talking. The path curves between palms, familiar and unchanged. The sea moves loudly to our right, generous and indifferent. She tells me about work. Repairs. Guests who never read instructions. Staff who come and go. As always, her life has weight. Continuity. I talk about my job. Expansion. Strategy. Motion without roots. We keep a careful distance between us. Once, she gestures while speaking, then catches herself, her hand stopping midair. Once, I step closer without thinking. She shifts away. Neither of us comments on it. The tension hums anyway. We stop for tea at a nearby kibanda. The table between us is small. The light fades slowly, like it's reluctant to leave us alone. There's something I should tell you, I say. She looks at me. Calm. Prepared. I'm engaged. The word lands wrong. Her body reacts before her face does. Her fingers tighten around the cup. Just for a second. Then she sets it down carefully. Congratulations, she says. The pause before the word does more damage than silence would have. It's recent, I add. Like that makes it better. She nods once. I wondered, she says quietly, if you'd come back already chosen. The hurt slips through before she can stop it. This is the first time she sounds wounded. And I did that. We don't leave it there. We can't. The sea keeps moving. The sky darkens around us. I thought leaving was kinder, I say finally. I thought staying would ruin everything. Who's everything? She asks. I hesitate. She lets out a breath that almost sounds like a laugh. I thought you felt something inconvenient, she says, and went back to the life that fit. That's not, I stop. Rethink. That's not untrue. She absorbs that without flinching. I waited, she adds. Not accusing. Just stating a fact. For a while. Then I stopped. That's what hurts most. Not that she missed me. That she learned how not to. The air cools. Night settles in. I reach for her hand without thinking. She doesn't pull away, but she doesn't take it either. I won't be your almost again, she says. The words are steady. Practiced. I won't be the place you come when your life feels too tight. I won't be something you want quietly. I swallow. You shouldn't have to be, I say. No, she agrees. I shouldn't. This isn't anger. This is self-respect. And it demands more than regret. I don't offer a promise. I don't ask for time. I came back because I can't keep choosing comfort over truth, I say. Not anymore. She watches me closely, waiting for the escape clause. There's a life I've been living because it was approved, I continue. And there's the life I keep refusing to admit I want. I breathe in. If I choose you, I say, it won't be quietly. It won't be halfway. And it won't be without loss. The words land. This is the cost. This is the risk. Koi studies my face. The years between us. The decision in front of me. I will risk hope, she says finally. Once. But only if it's real. I reach for her hand again. This time, she takes it. Our fingers lace, not like a solution, not like a guarantee. Like a choice made with eyes open. The sea keeps moving. Steady. Unimpressed. And for the first time, I move with it.
Liked this? Every heartbeat in Africa tells a story. Subscribe to feel it.